When you're ready to wander in the mountains, to breathe cool alpine air, to soak up scenic views, to explore endless trails, we're ready for you in Park City, Utah, where there's plenty of fresh air, mountains, and a charming town. Learn how to visit safely at visitparkcity.com.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the 36th annual meeting of the Park City Chamber Bureau. Since 1983, we've been a combined Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau charged with leading our community's economy through the creation of a collaborative environment. And these past months, we've been doing exactly that. Thank you. I'm Bill Malone, and I'm proud to be the president and CEO of the Chamber Bureau, and especially proud to work both with and for you each and every day. And I'd have to be remiss if I didn't say it's a sincere pleasure to have the opportunity to live, work, and play in such a beautiful and dynamic community. First of all, I want to take a moment to thank Park City Television for hosting this meeting in their studios and taking all of these little speeches and bits of recognition and turning them into a TV show for us today. Thank you, Park City Television, for your efforts, your skills, and for being such a great partner in this, not only for us, but for businesses and nonprofits throughout the community. Secondly, I want to thank all the members for watching today, especially those that are getting out and supporting local restaurants by joining us via watch parties. This lunch hour annual meeting is a first, and it's completely different way for us to ever held an annual meeting. I want to thank you for supporting local businesses in our community and being a part of this historic event. And I want to thank our presenters today. Callum Clark, our outgoing chair, Casey Metzger, our incoming chair, and a big thank you to Miles Rademan, our longtime champion and supporter of all that we do in building and maintaining our economy. Since we will not be presenting the annual Miles Rademan Spirit of Hospitality Award today, we've asked Miles to take some time today in today's program and reflect on some of our recent challenges and put those into context as we move from one era of pre-COVID to another of rebuilding our economy. And today is an opportunity to reflect on our past and give credence to our future as a business community. You'll hear our presenters talk about some of the challenges ahead of us and the grit and determination it will take from the business community to rebuild our economy. But I want to share with you some of the numbers that show how important it is for our communities to come back strong. Hospitality in Summit County is big business, or should I say huge business. It's a $1 billion industry, and that's a billion with a B annually. And as a benchmark, to give you a context, is that the entire state of Utah has a non-resident visitor spend of $8.3 billion. That means that the Park City area represents nearly 1/8 of the state's spending in hospitality. Remember that this is a state with immense hospitality potential. 14 ski resorts, 5 national parks, and 43 state parks to inspire and entertain people from around the world. That number is a reminder that we are a community that is very important to the state of Utah. While we consciously play that down at times, when it comes to being a partner, I think those in the know at the state capitol recognize how important we are to not only the state economy, but to the reputation and desirability of the state as well. Speaking locally about our economic impact, in 2018, the visitor economy paid taxes in Park City to the tune of $31.7 million, while they also paid taxes to Summit County at a whopping $30.4 million as well. But beyond the sales taxes paid by guests, property taxes paid by second homeowners contributed a total of $75 million to Summit County and its municipalities, school districts, and special service districts in 2018. Park City School District alone was a recipient of $33 million from non-resident second homeowners. I share these numbers with you to remind us all that we need not only be cognizant of our personal health in times of a worldwide pandemic, but to deal with the really difficult job of balancing the needs of our economy while protecting our greatest assets, our residents and our workforce. During these last 3 months, the Chamber team has navigated rough waters, I think, very successfully. Through an abrupt turnaround of marketing outward to focusing our energies inward, we quickly invested in local sponsorships touting businesses that were open, increased communications efforts to our members and the community at large, talking about such things as services, loans, grants, etc., as well as redeploying Chamber resources into such things as personal protective equipment for our small business community. We made a significant shift in a short period of time, and now pivoting once again to redirect our messaging to potential vacationers in the regional drive market with the message of, we're ready when you're ready. And when that time is right, we will be eventually shifting that campaign to the you're on the right trail messaging. So we've come a long way since that Sunday, March 15th, when the ski resorts closed and our guests were encouraged to go home, and we are cautiously working our way back. In fact, we recently hosted some of our first meetings in town again, as well as just recently hosting travel writers, once again, who are experiencing and writing about new experiences in Park City. Not exactly sure how long this journey will take, but I will say with some confidence that it will be both challenging and rewarding ride back to prominence as one of the best towns in America. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce our chairman of the board for 2019-2020, Mr. Callum Clark, the COO of the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation. Thank you.
Thanks very much for those opening remarks, Bill, and great to see those numbers. I must say this is pretty unusual. Here I am at the Park City Television studios. I'm not in a lunchroom with enjoying the company of our friends. When Bill first gave this idea, I immediately thought, well, we should get some actors on board. And you don't want to see me, you want to see someone else, like maybe Hugh Jackman or Hemsworth. You could have like Thor or the Wolverine. How cool would that be? But Bill suggested that I'd probably be better suited to the guy that played Crocodile Dundee. I don't know if I should be wearing like a leather vest or something, and I would have been carrying a knife, you know. Me and my damn accent. Anyway, I digress. Let's get on with it. This has clearly been a tumultuous year, and I think this represents what we're doing right here as a fantastic example of what the Chamber has been able to achieve. Create a meaningful annual general meeting in an environment that's socially distant, but also a little bit of fun. So here goes. Let's see how we go here. This has been an extraordinary year and quite an honour for me to be involved and watch as we've gone through this incredible process. If we cast our mind back to this time last year, I think I would be safe to say that a global pandemic and economic downturn was the last thing on my mind. And I think for many in the organisation, that was also the case. And if you think back at that time, what the Chamber was doing to further a really thriving economy with the winds of a great tourism industry at our back was crystal clear. The events team was doing great work in bringing high quality events to our community with a balance between what the community needed and great destination travel. The group businesses were bringing really high value destination visitation, particularly in the midweek and those periods that were often considered as the mud season, that was bringing value to our organisation. The membership team was doing an awesome job. If you think about all of the mixes and the information gathering moments that we got to go to and rub shoulders with each other, as well as learn from industry best to make our businesses better. As well as the marketing department, that new brand that they came with Winter's Favourite Town. In my personal opinion, I'm no marketer, but it was precise, it was perfect, it represented who we are. And they did it in a creative way. They didn't just go to TV, they were using digital marketing, they were doing live activations at some of our key markets like New York. And the results were showing. Like if we thought about up until February, we were 4% up in TRT over year, which if you recall, that was a record breaking year. And February had the highest occupancy rate ever, with 74%. This was a sign of a great destination marketing group, a Chamber of Commerce, and and all of the businesses working together arm in arm. But it's easy, right? When things are going well, it's easy to make the economy snappy and fun. But then we saw in a moment's notice this entire world turn. And I don't need to regurgitate it in my funny Australian accent, but what I do want to highlight is the way that this community and this organisation responded to the COVID-19 crisis. To the entire Chamber team, a deep thanks. Your ability to pivot, to take the circumstance, understand that circumstance, and change the way that you do business immediately to do two things. One, provide value to our membership. The newsletters, the calls, the conference calls that came out, and as information was changing, it seemed like on a minute-by-minute basis, you had up-to-the-minute information for us, which was valuable. Also, you turned and battened down the hatches financially. You took what didn't need to be spent and you stopped spending. We know that those dollars will be well allocated in the future when the time is ready to start putting the word out. And the time might be right now to start bringing back those tourism dollars to bring back, breathe the life into our destination economy. So for that, to the entire team, thank you very, very much. The other part of that is what we saw on in the business community. The resilience, the grit, and the responsiveness by the team, by not so much the team, but the community at large in the business community was quite exceptional. And this came from what I believe is the very best of what Park City is. We have this mission of we allow the tide to rise all boats, to make things better for everyone. How can we share information that not just benefits my business or my industry, my pillar, but the community at large? And to that end, I think it's really appropriate for me to do a huge shout out and thanks to the medical staff at the Park City Hospital and the community health centres that worked through this environment. If you recall, when we started this, we were one of the highest contraction rates in the country. And we had our essential workers, our medical staff, stick it out, not lose their cool, and deliver value. And for that, thank you. Thank you very much, because without that, as we come back online and we come back to welcome the rest of the world, we don't have a shambles. We have a working economy. So, with all that in mind, let's do a couple of thank yous. We have 5 board members that are stepping down. Their term has ended, and I want to do a shout out and a thank you. First of all, I'd like to do some thank yous to our executive board. We spend some significant time with each other, and I deeply value their time and input and perspective. First, Liza Simpson. Liza has an incredible ability to get down to the nut of an issue, to see, to clear the fog and get to the point. For your directness, for your feedback, thank you very much, Liza. You're going to be missed for sure. To Susie English, her business acumen and her business intelligence is exquisite. Her ability to describe what's happening out there in the wider destination community and inform the executive team was invaluable and in good fun. Always kind and always with a smile. So thank you, Susie. And to Jeff Ward. Jeff, you were a mentor of mine as the past chair. Your calm style of leadership, your caring style of leadership saw me through and gave me the guiding principles for how I operated this year. So to the rest of the board members, Emily Elliott from KPCW, thank you for your service. Maxine Turner from Cuisine Unlimited. I know this is not your first tour of duty, but thank you once again for dedicating your time to this organisation. And then to Dan Flick from Stein Erikson Lodge, thank you very much. Right, almost there. Huge thank you to Bill Malone, our CEO. So for those that are not aware, Bill made the announcement in January to step down as CEO. And we had played out with Casey and the executive team a very well-managed transition plan. And right now, we're meant to be at a lunch and welcoming this new guy or girl that's announcing the new CEO. That's clearly not the case. Bill, on learning about this crisis and how deep this crisis was, he was the kind of leader to shelve the plans, to not talk about these plans, and I know that he was ready for a vacation and a well-deserved one at that, but to get on and dig in and provide the critical value to this organisation, the Chamber, but also the wider community. His openness, his leadership, his ability to understand the movements of the state legislature, the county and the city was invaluable, and I believe that everyone benefited from his great leadership. So thanks very much, Bill. So there's my thank yous. Now it's time to hand over my gavel. I'll be very happy to do so to Casey Metzger. So as I think about the year ahead and this transition year with potential of a new CEO, I could not think of a more perfect person to lead this organisation as chairman. I believe he epitomises what the Park City hospitality community represents. He's smart. He's an innovative businessman. He's always got his ear to the ground with the developments of the economy. He's naturally open and transparent. Throughout this process, there were conference calls about what was going on with the SBA loans, what was happening at the state legislature. Casey was endless with him gathering this information, but completely open in providing that information to the wider community. For that natural level of transparency, that the organisation's going to thrive. And I think we all know he's one of the kindest men on earth. I don't know many people that don't say, "Oh, last week I saw Casey and we're talking about trying to do some stuff together." He's always ready to lend a hand to the community, whether it be a non-profit or a startup that's trying to get their feet underneath them. So Casey, I'm looking forward to handing over this gavel. I'm looking forward to seeing you lead this organisation. So thanks very much. Thank you, Chamber. And now I'm going to hand it over to Casey Metzger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you, even in front of this camera. If there was no cameras, I'd be nailing this right now. But here goes. Callum, thank you very much for your hard work, your dedication, and your leadership that you've demonstrated as you've served this organization and the business community over the past year as chair. Your commitment and genuine concern for the entire community has been a true pleasure to witness and fantastic for me to learn from. And for that, I thank you, mate. 1 year ago today, we were gathered for our annual meeting celebrating yet another record-breaking year with over 2 million skier visitors and a bustling community of business. We listened to Miles Rademan speak to the meaning of hospitality and how to welcome and share our amazing town with the tourists and visitors alike that contribute to our lifestyle and world-class amenities. The marketing team shared with us their winter's favorite town creative campaign, a really great campaign that I thought was fantastic. That was launched in the fall for the 1920 season. Well, we just about made it through that promising winter unscathed. But all of a sudden, we all suffered what may be the most paralyzing blow to our economy that we could have ever imagined. Gone are the days of the crowds, the busy restaurants, and the bustling streets in our town. The things we may have taken for granted. Here we are, this new reality, trying to figure out how we're going to navigate our businesses and the challenges that will come with it, and the new way of life in these incredibly uncertain times. I hope everybody's had a time to reflect and has found some silver linings in this as we distance, reset, and make way for our individual comebacks. A couple silver linings in all of this for our business community is that we have all reached out to each other to work and try to do this together. A couple silver linings in all of this for our business community is that we all have each other and can collaborate and support one another. And we all have something in common, that we belong or contribute to this strong and poised organization that is ready to help kickstart this economy when the time is right. And will do so in a safe and responsible manner. I was recently reminded by our mayor, Andy Bierman, that our town has suffered a depression, a couple recessions, and even a fire that's burned our town to the ground, and that we always climbed back. And we'll do that again. The resilience and determination of this business community and the people that make up the fabric of this town will be championed and supported by the Chamber of Commerce and the Visitors Bureau as they always have been. The proven leadership and exceptional team at the Chamber of Commerce has a proven track record of helping our town bounce back swiftly after a downturn in economy. It's going to be a very hard year for a lot of us, but I have the confidence that we have the support that we need to make the best run at it possible. I'm honored for the opportunity to serve this business community as the chair of the board and look forward to helping any way I can. Cheers to all of our favorite town. And let me introduce you to the newly elected board members for this year. Shadar Edelman from the Woodward Park City. Stephen Michael McKay from Old Town Cellars. Greg Gendron from Stein Erikson Lodge. Joseph Mattioli from Montage International. And Chelsea Steinbach from RMC Park City. Looking forward to working with all of you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Casey, and congratulations to all of you recently elected to our board of directors. We look forward to having you serve along with the existing board, and I think it's going to be a great year ahead for us. Now it's my pleasure to introduce kind of our keynote for today, Mr. Miles Rademan. Miles needs no introduction. I think everyone in town knows Miles. He's a great friend and a great champion of our efforts at the Chamber Bureau. So take it away, Miles.
Thanks, Bill. Let me do a show here on a little bit of the past and future of Park City. And I call it Park City, Home of True Grit, 150 years of resilience and recovery and survival. We just came off a winter that really looked good up until March, and we had high hopes for another banner year. We just went through another successful Sundance, and everyone had high spirits. And then suddenly a black swan event, COVID-19. Who would have thought that was coming? I don't think anyone predicted it. So in mid-March, we just had to shut down. And in a blink of an eye, the very foundations of our hospitality tourism economy were severely threatened. We got an order from the Summit County Health Department and from the state, from the county, said shut down and shelter in place. And it was quite different for us. Main Street turned into kind of a ghost town. It reminded me as when I first saw it in the early 70s. And signs went up about, being careful and social distancing. And we had mobile stations set up for training and testing us. And everyone felt, uh-oh, the end is near, the end is near. As a matter of fact, there's our mayor, Andy Bierman, holding up some papers from the Park Record. One says Park City shuttered, the other says tourism collapsed. But as Mark Twain once said, rumors of Park City's demise were greatly exaggerated. But the truth of the matter is, we have been asked to leave our comfort zone. And so what I'd really like to talk about is perspective. How do we look at this in terms of our history and where we might go in the future? And perspective deals with, is the glass half empty or half full? It means taking a closer look at where we might go behind just the headlines. So let's start with history here. And Park City has a history of hard rock mining, and it left us a great legacy of hard work, self-reliance, and community cooperation. And we're certainly not the first generation, and probably not the last, to face an existential crisis. Adversity and survival in our history forged an enduring spirit of true grit, and that's why I called this show True Grit. Things were never easy in Park City. We've had booms and busts, lots of them. We've had silver booming, we've had the gold bust, we've had all kinds of ups and downs, and that has been reflected in our population, which goes way back to the 1880s when at the height of our mining boom in the 1880s, we had a great population. You can see how it went down over the years and then start to recover again until the 1970s, 80s, and it's plateaued off now. This is in Park City itself. In June of 1898, we had a tremendous fire. And as a matter of fact, the whole town was left in a rubble. And Salt Lake Tribune at that time predicted Park City will never survive. But within 18 months, Park City not only survived, it started to boom again, and it thrived. And businesses opened on Main Street, and people were buying things, and the economy was doing well. But then we were plagued with a series of mine disasters, the most famous of which was the Jokerville mine disaster, in which many, many miners died. That was followed shortly thereafter by World War I. Many of the miners had to march off into battle in foreign seas, and the town in the 1920s constructed the memorial building to honor those. And then we had the Spanish flu of 1918, which is very reminiscent of what we're doing now with coronavirus. So it's pretty interesting when you look at the pictures from 1918, the numbers of people dying, the masks that are being worn, whole classrooms with everyone wearing a mask. That was followed by a series of labor disputes, which went on for many years. There were strikes, and people went out and protested and so forth. So it was a pretty hard time in Park City always. The Great Depression came along, and Park City actually did okay during the Great Depression. I mean, it wasn't great, but we did better than a lot of the country. And you can see here in some of these pictures that, you know, things didn't look too prosperous. But bicycle sales, surprisingly, just went through the roof, just like they're doing right now. So history, in a way, is repeating itself. Then shortly thereafter, World War II, and again, our boys had to march off, a lot of the miners had to leave, and the economy really languished again as production turned into armaments instead of just silver and gold and lead and zinc. In the 1950s, after the war, while the rest of the country was starting to boom again, Park City did not boom. Park City faced additional hard times. The mining sort of bumped along the bottom. Sometimes it would do well for a year or two, other times it wouldn't. But the street didn't look very good. And when I first saw the town in the early 1970s, it looked like this. Old Town looked like Old Town, literally Old Town. And if people want to see Sweet Alley, this is kind of Sweet Alley, and Poison Creek ran through it, and Lower Sweet Alley. It was not the place that it is today for sure. As a matter of fact, in the early 1970s, Park City was listed in the ghost towns of the West. And even though we never were theoretically a ghost town, the population had shrunk to less than 1,000 at that time. And we were listed, and that book is still available. You know, one time I spoke to Rich Martinez. He's pictured in the lower right here. And we called him the old miner. He's since passed away. But Rich said to me, you know, if you were nostalgic for the good old days, you weren't here. And I always bore that in mind because some people talk about the good old days. Of course, it was skiing that sort of put us back on the map, and it started up in Frog Valley, which is now Deer Valley. But they put in the first sort of makeshift lifts, and then shortly thereafter, in the early 1960s, the mining company got a grant from the federal government to put in the first major lifts, and that took place on what is Treasure Mountain, but now Park City Mountain Resort. And we even had the miners' subway, which you can still see a remnant of at the Park City Museum, where they actually ran skiers through the mine tunnels and up the lifts so they could ski. So it's skiing for the last 40 years or more that has put us on the map, the international map, and it's really given us the boom that we've experienced and that we're all sort of used to at this point. But, you know, as snow farmers, we've always suffered from sometimes too little snow, and there have been many years where there's been too little snow, and sometimes too much snow. So we're still plagued with challenges. In the middle 1980s, Craig Badami, who was the son of the owner of Park City Resort, put together the idea of World Cup skiing here, and we had America's opening. And that was really started to set us up for where we went with our future. But then who could forget surviving Y2K? And people thought, could we ever survive this thing? All the computers are going to go bad and the airplanes are going to fall out of the sky, but they didn't. During all that time, starting in around 1987, 88, we started to talk about hosting an Olympics. Everyone thought that was crazy. But after 15 years of planning for a lot of us, we did host the Olympics, and that was in 2002, which is 18 plus years ago. And while we coined the phrase, it was really the chamber that coined the phrase, we'll be the Alpine Heart of 2002, after all those years of planning, we had 9/11 hit just 5 months before we were about to host the Olympics, and that was in jeopardy. So all these existential threats are nothing new to Park City. Luckily, we pushed on and the country pulled together, and the true grit that is Park City came to the fore. We hosted probably still the best Winter Olympic Games ever staged. And we, for those of you who are around, can remember the Budweiser horses that marched down Main Street every day to a crowd of over 15,000 people a day. And that created a living legacy for us, not only in the people who grew up here and the sports heroes that we have, but in the facilities that were granted to us. So that's at the Utah Olympic Park, and the United States Ski and Snowboard Association built their Center for Excellence here. Things were going great, and then we had the Great Recession of 2008. Another existential threat when all the buildings started to be shuttered and building, new buildings stopped and so forth. But we pushed on, and because of the successes we've had, because of our location, because of the community, Vail and Alterra, two of the major ski resort companies in the world, purchased in here, and now we still boast two of the best ski resorts in North America. And recently, the United States Olympic Committee selected Park City to bid for either the 2030 or 2034 Olympic Winter Games. So our future looks bright, and that's wonderful to see. But again, people start to question that. How about, we call it the tragedy of success. We've been so successful that people start to talk about the traffic and the congestion and the crowding and real estate prices and affordability and social equity. So someone said, are we experiencing tourism and event fatigue here? What do we do about this? And just recently, in 2019, the city engaged in a long-range visioning process, and they questioned the sustainability and right-sizing of the tourism economy and how we foster social equity. But again, I don't think, even though people said they wanted bold change, I don't think anybody wanted the kind of bold change that turned Main Street instantly into a ghost town. And so now we're really looking to the future. How do we shape Park City's future given what our past has taught us and what we can expect? One, I would say that the basics haven't changed that much. There are still people out there that have disposable income. There are still a lot of people out there who like to ski and take vacations. This might take some time to regenerate itself, but those things haven't changed appreciably. Our access hasn't changed. We're still one of the, if not the most accessible ski resort in the world, probably. We have I-80 coming up Parley's Canyon there, and we have the new Salt Lake Airport, which is over a $3 billion investment, the newest airport in the country. And over time, that will start to get filled again. We still have lots of people who are looking to move to places like Park City, to escape crowded cities and looking at maps where there's a great deal of recreation and so forth. And what are they looking for? The things that we have in abundance: nature and recreation, authenticity, history, heritage. And for those of you who don't know, we do have a National Historic District in our downtown area here, and that hasn't changed, so we are authentic. Over the years, we've invested heavily in what we have, the 400 miles plus of trails, which has proved to be a godsend for us in these times of coronavirus. We have other great facilities, whether it's the Mark here, the Field House. We've worked together on recreation and our cultural facilities, our Park City Library, our Park City Schools, and our Park City Hospital. All these institutions and these facilities stand us in good stead to boom again. We have great lodging options, which we've always had, like Stein Eriksen Lodge, which has been voted the best ski hotel in the world. We have fine dining in abundance. We have exciting nightlife. All these things are starting to regenerate. You know, years ago, Wallace Stegner wrote a number of books, and he called the West the native land of hope. And indeed, that's what we have to do. We have to hope and do something about it. And luckily, that's what we have done. And our long history has showed that we take care of ourselves. There's the Miners Hospital. It was the miners that built that to take care of their health needs. And below that is the People's Health Clinic. So we're still taking care of the health needs that are unmet. And we've also been really good at pivoting, recycling, reusing, and recreating. There we are moving the Miners Hospital in 1979 from its location up near the Park City Mountain Resort to its present location in the park. And our local governments now, both the county and the city and the state, have really stepped up during this difficult time of pandemic. And here we are, zooming our way, but still staying in touch with everyone and doing what's necessary. Our service clubs have stepped to the fore, and they swung into action to meet these demands. So people volunteering. Our community foundation with its Live PC, Give PC, and its emergency fund. our other nonprofits like the Christian Center and the Peace House, and there are many others that have really upped their games to take care of people so that the people who are left out have not been forgotten. And we really have worked on the social equity part of this. And finally, the Chamber, which has really been leading the road to recovery here and calibrating new marketing strategies to get people to come back in a responsible way. And we're all saying it. We're all in this together, co-creating the new normal. And there you see it there. Stay safe and open slowly. And if we want to open, we have to be realistic about what we're doing. Because we'd like to say, when you're ready, we're ready. And just recently, on June 14th, Main Street reopened. And we're talking about supporting local businesses. And there we are going around Main Street, and hopefully on Sunday, all summer, every Sunday, we're going to be able to do that. So finally, I'd like to say, and I'd like to quote a famous American poet, Gary Snyder, who said, "Find your place on the planet, dig in, take responsibility from there." And I think that's what we've done in Park City. I always like to close with, if you're lucky enough to be in Park City, you're lucky enough. And what the Spanish say, ama el lugar donde vives. Thank you very much. Bill, back to you.
Thank you, Miles. We all appreciate your thoughtful comments, and thank you for continuing to serve our community in so many ways. Before we wrap up today's meeting, I wanted to share some of what is happening from a marketing and promotional aspect for winter season at the Chamber Bureau. First, let me serve up a little taste of winter with a couple-minute video recently produced by our partner Brand USA. Brand USA is a national organization located in Washington, D.C. that we've had the pleasure of partnering much of our international marketing efforts with. I think they do a fabulous job of telling the story about visiting America to people from around the world. This one that we're going to show you now highlights a South Korean grandmother visiting her children and grandchildren on a ski vacation in Park City. Please enjoy.
All right, last run in Tahoe, then off to see Grandma in Park City. You ready to rock?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Attention passengers, we've now reached our destination.
I come from South Korea. This is the first vacation I spent time with them. I like to give my grandkids toys or candies or cookies, and my daughter get upset because I spoil them. Park City is beautiful. The mountains are always white and full of people, and I really like that a lot.
Where is she going?
I love these kids. Whatever we do, we have a lot of fun. We gotta go all the way up there. Okay, I know. Here.
It's amazing for Marie and I just to be able to take a deep breath. The kids think Grandma's hilarious. They also know that they can take advantage of her in a cute way. You can look around and everything is so inspiring. And I know that there's places for Grandma to go and see the sights.
culture. They don't tell grandma, don't spoil them. Grandma, don't give them candy. Grandma, don't do this, don't do that. You become parent, you parent forever. Even you're 60 years old, you're a parent. We never stop. I love to travel with my grandkids. This is really beautiful. Someday I love to come back to Park City again.
I hope you enjoyed that. And while it's still July, we don't want you to forget that we still are winter's favorite town. Hard to think about that right now in this hot weather, but we'll be reminding people of that before we know it. So here's a little video of some of our winter's favorite town efforts.
In winter's favorite town, the white carpet stretches for miles. Skiing is amazing. There are beautiful mountains and adventures at every turn. New friends are easy to make, and the memories never melt away. Discover why Park City, Utah is winter's favorite town at visitparkcity.com.
I hope you enjoyed that as well. And now to close out today's meeting, I want to introduce our new chairman of the board for the 2020-2021 term, Mr. Casey Metzger.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you everybody for tuning in in these unusual circumstances, and to the restaurant community that has opened your doors to be able to watch us and to hear about the Chamber and all the great things that we are going to be able to accomplish together. I'm very grateful for the opportunity and look forward to serving you in 2021. Thank you.
When you're ready to wander in the mountains, to breathe cool alpine air, to soak up scenic views, to explore endless trails, we're ready for you in Park City, Utah, where there's plenty of fresh air, mountains, and a charming town. Learn how to visit safely at visitparkcity.com.